When I speak to you now, I do not come as a statesman asking for applause. I come as a brother calling for an awakening. To every black woman and man from Harlem to Harare, from Kingston to Kurugu, hear this plainly. We were broken in different places, but by the same hands. They shipped some of us in chains across oceans and left others under foreign flags. They taught those in the West to forget Africa, and they taught Africa to mistrust the children who returned. While we argued over borders and labels, they profited from our division. Today I say, that division must end. They taught you to believe your fights are separate, that your pain has different names. But the system that kills a black child in Minneapolis is the same structure that strips mines from our soil and sells the wealth elsewhere. The bullets hitting our brothers are often paid for by the gold they take from us. The prisons that cage our communities were built from wealth extracted from African lands. Different continents, same engine. Different masks, same face. This is not a theory. It is a fact you can trace from a courtroom in London to a mine in West Africa. You were never minorities. You're a scattered nation. They wanted you tired, divided, and distracted, dressed in their languages, singing to their music, wearing their brands, but unable to look at each other and see kin. They gave you passports and borders. They expected you to be citizens of silence. They taught the diaspora to feel ashamed for not returning and Africa to suspect those who did. Both lies. We were not abandoned. We were taken. We were separated by force. Now we must choose to reconnect by choice. I am not asking you to leave your homes. I am not calling for exile or for naive exodus. I am asking for alignment, a reunion of purpose. Some of you will return physically. Others will return with capital, expertise, and commitment. Some will return with voice, influence, and networks. All returns matter when they carry loyalty. The diaspora has power in its hands, knowledge, platforms, technology, money. These are not tokens to be spent on pity. They are tools for rebuilding systems that serve us. They taught our children in the West to admire what colonizers built while erasing the histories we invented. They showed our continent as famine and war, not as intellect and invention. They reduced empires to villages and universities to myths. They wanted you to come back as tourists, not heirs. But remember, Africa sent mathematics, medicine, and metallurgy to the world long before Europe put a name on them. Our story is not what they teach in their syllabuses. It is older and wider and far nobler. To those in America, Europe, Brazil, and the Caribbean, you were not freed. You were repackaged. They ended one form of bondage and started another. Poverty as policy, policing as industry, identity as commodity. They offered voting booths and civil rights while building cages and chronic inequality. They taught you to chase inclusion inside systems designed against you. Inclusion without ownership is containment. They celebrate token milestones, a holiday, a statue, a movie, while the levers of power remain out of reach: land, capital, media, production. Black America is not a mere community. It is a latent nation, seeds of leadership, culture, and economic power planted on every street, in every campus, in every studio. When that nation decides not to integrate, but to invest and build a parallel economy connected to the continent, the global order will tremble. This is not a call to violence. It is a call to strategy. Bring engineers, not just entertainers. Bring financiers, not just fundraisers. Bring institutions, not only influence. Return with industries and ideas that turn dependency into independence. To the sons and daughters of Haiti and Jamaica, to the resilient people of Brazil and the resilient communities in Europe, you are not failed states or misfits. You are proof that resistance can defeat empires. Haiti rose first and paid the price with debt and embargoes for daring to be free. Jamaica birthed movements that echoed across oceans. Brazil carried the largest African-descended population outside the continent and yet was taught to forget its heritage. You did not disappear. You survived. Now, your survival must become our strategy. Listen, this is not an appeal to nostalgia. It is a plan for power. Imagine African capital funding black schools in Chicago. Imagine universities in Accra partnering with community colleges in Salvador. Imagine defense industries built on cooperation, not dependence. Imagine media networks owned by us that tell our stories without filters. Picture trade routes connecting diasporic markets to African manufacturers. What bank would sanction that? What army could stop that? The real fear of those who benefit from our division is not our riots. It is our reunion. We must be clear-eyed. They will call such unity dangerous, radical, reckless. They will smear leaders who call for alignment as demagogues. Yet history teaches us that the words dangerous and radical often fall on the lips of those who fear the end of their monopoly. If freedom is radical, then so be it. If unity is a threat to empires built on our labor, then it is a necessary threat. We must redefine power. Sovereignty is not merely waving a flag. It is owning the means to determine a people's future. Freedom without land is freedom in a gilded jail. Independence without industrial capacity is a portrait hung in a house mortgaged to foreign banks. Throughout history, our rulers have accepted symbolic sovereignty while surrendering economic and informational control. That cannot continue. Education must be reclaimed. Teach our children the achievements of Timbuktu's scholars, the governance systems of Axum, the intellectual traditions of the Sahel. Replace curricula that begin with colonizers and end with tragedies. Let our youth learn that their ancestors mapped the stars and administered empires. Knowledge will be the soil where sovereignty grows. Control your narrative. Ownership of media is ownership of memory. When others tell our story as victims, we become markets for pity. When we tell our story as makers, we become markets for collaboration. Build newsrooms and platforms that center our voices. Produce films that depict our dignity. Create scholarship that rewrites the textbooks. Build defense, not as a provocation, but as a condition of survival. A people without the capacity to defend what they build invites manipulation. This does not mean arms for foreign wars. It means infrastructure that secures trade, cybersecurity that protects our data, and a regional framework that prioritizes African lives over foreign contracts. Preparedness deters predation. Economy is the bedrock. Diaspora capital must flow as investment, not as charity. Invest in manufacturing, in agro-processing, in technology hubs. Build supply chains that keep value on the continent. Trade among us before trading with those who have historically exploited us. Create regional currencies, continental payment systems, and joint development funds. When Africa negotiates as one economic bloc, the leverage shifts. And build institutions, banks, universities, research centers, media houses that belong to us. Institutions outlast personalities. They turn fleeting movements into enduring power. They are the architecture of a lasting future. I am not naive about the obstacles. Betrayal will come from within as well as without. Some leaders will prefer short-term comfort. Some elites will fear losing privilege. Some will call collaboration dangerous populism. Expect disinformation. Expect manipulation. Expect the old powers to create new crises to distract us. But in those moments, remember this: unity is a long game. It requires patience, planning, and sacrifice. It requires that we choose the long arc of collective power over the short gain of personal comfort. This is a summons to action, not a script for martyrdom. Build schools that teach engineering and agriculture. Build banks that provide capital for manufacturers, not loans that extract wealth. Build media that connects Harlem and Harare, Kingston and Kumasi, Salvador and Sokoto. Build chambers of commerce that prioritize intra-black trade. Build cybersecurity networks that protect our data. Build cultural exchanges that heal memory and renew identity. Build legal teams that reclaim stolen assets and intellectual property. Build political platforms that reward leaders for delivering infrastructure, not for pleasing donors. To the diaspora, your influence is real. Use it to pressure your governments when they support policies that harm our people. Use it to fund development projects that produce jobs. Use it to back African entrepreneurs rather than buy disposable visibility. The time to be symbolic is over. Be strategic to the continent. Stop bowing to conditionality. Invest in your own energy grids, your own railways, your own ports. If foreign capital is the only option, attach clear sovereignty clauses. If loans come, demand technology transfer and permanent jobs. Do not accept reform that replaces one foreign manager with another white paper. Build the capacity to design, operate, and maintain your own systems. And to the young, you are the bridge. Learn the histories, master the technologies, organize the networks. Your music, your art, your scholarship, your activism, all of it must be mobilized in service of long-term projects. Protest is powerful. Building is revolutionary. Turn your rage into enterprises that employ your peers. Turn your songs into curricula that teach your children resilience. I do not promise comfort. I do not promise an end to struggle. But I promise this. When we align, when the children of Harlem and the students of Ouagadougou speak the same language of enterprise and memory, the world will have to reckon with us as a force, not as a footnote. They will be forced to renegotiate power. Wake up, stand up. Bring your minds, your money, your networks, your skills. Return not to consume, but to construct. Return not for nostalgia, but for legacy. We were much more than the conditions that enslaved us. We were makers, thinkers, rulers, and creators. Remember that truth. Build on that truth. If my voice falls tomorrow, let it echo in your actions. If I am gone, let my words live in your institutions. This is not a plea for unity. It is a plan for survival. The era of gratitude for crumbs ends now. The era of building begins. Rise, reconnect, reclaim. A black world united is not a threat. It is the fulfillment of history's debt.